GNT show is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. These are the voyages of the GNT show. Our continuing mission to explore Star Trek storytelling, to seek out new worlds and interesting characters, to Boliga, where no show has gone before. Live long and prosper, bitches.
Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the G&T Show Supplemental Log. I'm Mike, and joining me this week is the lovely Tara Lynn.
Good evening, everyone.
And this time we are honored to speak with Alex Nod Engel from Star Trek Timelines. Welcome, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
We are so glad to have you here, Alex. I know that it's been a long time since we've had an opportunity to talk to anybody from Disruptor Beam or Star Trek Timelines. That actually, I don't think we've had an opportunity to talk to any of you since launch.
Yes, so congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very exciting. Lots of work, lots of effort that went into it, but we're really pleased with how it's launched, and we love the players and community that we have. So we're really happy about it.
Yeah, we're all players. Nick, Terry, and myself. I think I'm a little bit further along than Nick and Terry, but I'm just absolutely loving it. There's just so much. There's so much to do.
I was going to say, Mike is definitely the more experienced player from the three of us, but I do have, I do play. I do get the opportunity to get in. I think I'm only like a level 13, but I play when I can, and I use my iPad to play, and I'm having just a great time.
Well, good. Thank you very much. Yeah, we love it so far. We have a lot of fun doing it.
Now, I'm going to let Mike take the lead on this interview just because he is so much more experienced in the game than I'll pipe in when I have something specific I need to ask.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, let's start with the new content. A new update came out last week or the week before. It introduced a whole lot of fun features and a few fixes, I do believe. One of them was the ship upgrade system. Could you help explain to our listeners who may not be familiar with it, how does the ship upgrade system work?
Sure. So every ship that we built in the game has a certain base number of stats, and you sort of unlock the ship by just getting enough schematics, and then when you have enough schematics, Utopia Planitia just like ships you out a new ship, and you get to play with it and have fun, fly around with it.
Right. And for our listeners who haven't played, I may do this, Alex. So for our listeners who have never played this game before, you get schematics for your ship as awards for missions and shuttle missions that you play in the game, as well as you can also get them as awards for items that you purchase in the time portal using the in-game currency that you can get. So if you're wondering how do you get schematics, well, that's pretty much the way.
Yeah, we actually, one of our recent server updates added them in as away team mission rewards, I think, as well as shuttle mission awards. So we're trying to add them in a few more places where you can get them.
Very cool.
But the fun thing to do with them, of course, is everyone wants a new ship, and everyone wants to make their ship more better. So they go ahead and introduce ship upgrading. There's, I think, up to 9 levels right now of ships that you can upgrade. And each upgrade increases your accuracy, your shields, your hull, the damage that you do, and it's sort of an early step towards the ship combat and ship upgrading customization we want to have in the game. There's a lot more that we want to do with ships and ship upgrading in the future, and this is sort of just like the first visible step that we have towards that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of good stuff.
So on the ship upgrades, so far it's only for a certain select ships. Obviously, I think part of the plan is to get all of the currently available ships to the point where they can be upgraded. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, that's the plan. So we start. It's just a lot of work to make sure that the power balance and the increase in the cost are all correct. Not just for now, where I think a lot of our players would say that ships are pretty awesome and kind of blow things away pretty quickly, but preparing for the future as well, right? With all the changes we're going to make throughout the first half of 2016 and beyond. It just takes time, right? It takes time to make sure all those numbers are correct and in balance. So yeah, we started off with a number of ships, and we'll extend it to all the ships very soon.
Very cool. And you're also planning to continually add new ships to the game as well, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So although right now we do not have the Enterprise E or its class in game, but someday in the future we may actually see that in game.
Yeah, I can't speak so much to particular ships. We have two in the pipeline that we're working on right now, but I can't speak to the specific ships. But the Enterprise E, the Sovereign class ships are fan favorites from the movies, and I would say there's a high likelihood that those ships will come in the future. I wish I could tell you when, but I can't exactly say when. But we know that those are ships that players love, and we would love to get them in the game.
Right on. Terry, do you have anything you would like to add yet?
I was just going to say, I know that it's also possible to purchase particular ships if they're on. I don't know if it's only if they're on special, but I think I will admit I went gonzo the day that the Enterprise D became available, or the Galaxy class became available, and
ship sales.
I bought that sucker.
Yeah, I know I have my personal favorites for ships that I got really excited to get. Like, I find that I really like the Decora model. I just find it's kind of funky. It's like a croissant and a fork got together and made a spaceship. And I just think it's a funky ship design. It's a personal favorite of mine. And so when I got the 5-star version of that, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool.
The Decora being the Ferengi vessel, correct?
Yes, the Ferengi. I think it's actually classified as a Marauder. So it's not like an official class, right? It's not I don't think the Ferengi really had like they didn't have dedicated fleet combat ships like warships, but I think it was used in combat. I believe if I remember my DS9 correctly, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and TNG, they were also portrayed kind of like a pirate, like pirates. They would come and sneak aboard people's ships or do things to take them out quickly and then raid them for all they're worth.
Yeah, I think if I recall correctly, and it's been a while since I read this, but I think Ferengi were supposed to be like the new big baddies next to the Klingons.
Yeah, and they fell by the wayside. I think everybody just loved those little whips way too much.
Yeah, and then in DS9, they really became very tame.
Although I love them. Like, I love the rules of acquisition. I love all the Ferengi. Like, I think that Quark steals the show so often, and in DS9, that's like some of my favorite stuff are like the cops and robbers dynamic between him and Odo. That's some of my favorite parts of DS9.
I
totally agree. And if you ever get the opportunity to listen to the show when we talk about Ferengi, I think we're all very, very big fans of the Ferengi, especially in DS9. I don't think that there's a Ferengi episode that they made that I don't adore. I think is it the Fantastic Ferengi, the episode?
Oh, that's my absolute favorite. And
and Moogie. How can you go wrong with Moogie? She rocks, man. Everybody wanted Moogie for a mom. So yeah. I understand that.
I have a request, and I have not seen her in game yet, but I want Moogie in game.
So I don't know the status of her being in the game. I'm not sure, but I will pass it along because we do love the Ferengi.
Yeah, we can always use another Ferengi, especially a clothed female.
Awesome. What ship are you flying? Did I miss that?
Oh, I'm flying the so I'm kind of swapping. One of my favorites is the Intrepid class because I just really enjoy seeing the nacelles like pop up and down when I warp. But I also really like the Decora Marauder and I got the 5-star Decora I just recently. I forget what name it is. Hold on, I just got to look it up. But it's a 5-star version of the Decora.
Cool.
Okay, right on. So let's get away from the ship system right now. Another new addition to the game that came with the latest update was the at least for Android, was the ability to sort crew.
Yes.
Much needed, thank you.
The Kraton. Sorry, the Kraton or the Kraton. That's what it is. Yeah, the ability to sort crew. This is something, when I worked on Game of Thrones Ascent, this was something that I tried to champion throughout 2015 last year, was the ability to sort and filter. It just makes a world of difference, especially when, like myself or so many of our players who end up with dozens and dozens and dozens of crew.
Yep.
And you end up just airlocking a lot of them.
Yeah.
Well, I think I have over 50. I might even have pushing 60. I'm a level 13 right now. So technically I'm still kind of a noob at this. But even just having 50 crew and having to scroll or beforehand having to scroll through every single one to figure out who I wanted to pull for a mission. The sorting feature is an exceptional add. So thank you guys very much.
You only have...
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, it's safe to say it's coming to other parts of the game as well in the future.
Oh, good. I have significantly more crew than Terry, and I have to say, it gets a little frustrating.
Yeah, it'll be coming to more parts of the game in the future. Don't worry.
That's great. One thing I would love to see, at least for the ship on the ship battle side, is to know what level my crewmen are. When I'm playing, I like to level up my crewmen, so I like to make my choices on who to slot based on who needs actual experience, So if we can by any chance have that modified sometime in the future, it'd be wonderful for
me. Okay. I mean, we're making a lot of improvements to ship combat UI. I'm going to bring that back up to the team, see what they have to say tomorrow about that. It's a good point. That's good feedback. Thank you for letting me know.
My pleasure. So, you want to talk about story, Terry? You want to talk about story for a bit?
Well, yeah, because the one thing that we do at the G&T show, we love to, and really our motto is, we talk about Star Trek storytelling, is that this is such an unusual tale, and especially because it can kind of be a little confusing, in that you guys just threw stuff in front of the fan and said, this is what would happen to the Star Trek universe if everything broke. And that's why you can play with so many different of the same characters. So they're all from different times, and assuming different times in their own history, kind of thing. So, like, you can play 2 different or 3 different, multiple different kinds of Ezri Daxes and Jadzia Daxes. It doesn't matter, and you can all put them on your crew, and it's actually kind of fun. But part of that story is the idea that
my 3 Wesleys. Sorry,
seriously, is part of that story is the time just kind of has broken down, and Q has either forced you into or has elicited your help in trying to make heads or tails out of some certain things. So he plays kind of this backstage role, also, I guess, so to speak.
He's much too busy to handle it himself.
Oh, I know. That's just the way he is, right?
Yes.
But I found it interesting that right off the bat, at least in the first set of missions that you undertake, you're kind of thrown into this, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I remember it being the first, the kind of this whole augment thing where all of a sudden, I guess my confusion when I very first started to play was, did I really have the opportunity to choose which faction would win if I chose certain responses?
For the first episode between the augments and Klingons?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, guys. See, that's something that's different for a lot of games. Depending on how you answer, put so many points or put so much weight into a particular faction's success. That took me a while to figure out.
Yeah, in early builds of the game, it was much more obvious where points were going, but it was actually a lot less intuitive and a lot less like players actually looked at it and said, I'm not entirely certain, in beta especially, like I'm not entirely certain what this means or what I'm doing. But yes, you can absolutely change, the course of your story in a way that you cannot go back and change. So there are moments where you decide, whether one of the Dursa sisters is killed or not in the storyline, and your decision determines that for your story. Your decision determines, how you act.
So that's important.
Yeah, we love it. I mean, we did the same thing for Game of Thrones Ascent. It's a little less obvious in Game of Thrones Ascent, but there are whole branches of storyline you cannot access if you make certain choices, and other ones that open up if you make other choices. And Jessica, our lead writer, lead narrative designer, she wrote a lot of the majority of the story in Game of Thrones, as well as the majority of the story in Star Trek. And she loves having those kind of narrative branches in there. Like, hey, this is where, you can make a decision and there's no going back from this.
Yeah, that's a very unique feature. I mean, something that I've never encountered before. It's kind of like choose your own adventure books. I loved those when I was little.
Yeah, I actually asked her early on in development for Star Trek. I said, I sided for the Klingons, but I kind of want to go back and see what the Augment storyline's like. She's like, no, you're done. She's like, you want to see their side? You better restart your account because there's no going back. Like, you did some irrevocable level stuff to that faction. Like, they're not happy with you right now. You can't go back and solve it a different way.
It's true. They hate me.
Yeah.
They hate me in a big way.
Well, it's funny because we can look on our side what way players resolve those factions, and the Augments versus Klingons. It's just everyone always chooses the Klingons. Some people choose the Augments, but most people choose the Klingons.
I have to say it was a very unique and actually very cool. I have to say it's very cool to be able to be put into that position in any game, because usually, again, it's a unique thing. It doesn't matter what kind of a game that you play. It's very unusual for you to have a decision that actually has ramifications on how what content you can access, and I just thought that was very cool. I really did.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we enjoy building that stuff. We very much enjoy building story that's interesting, and I think Jessica did a very good job writing the personality into the text, especially for John Delancey. I know when John was in the office, we had this chance to work with him directly, and he always thought that her writing was like that she just nailed Q in some of the tone and presentation, and like hearing him say that was one of those like life-changing moments for her. Like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Right on.
So I do have to ask, because it isn't always necessarily the case when a game developer is thrown into a new IP, they may not necessarily be a fan of that IP. What can you say for pretty much the team on timelines? How many people felt like fish out of water?
Probably zero.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. Yeah. The whole company loves Star Trek. I mean, it's hard to overstate how big fans most of the team is. So, for example, Rich, who's on the streams with me sometimes, he's a big Star Trek fan, and he basically went through and rewatched. I believe he started from original series and just kept going, and ended up rewatching, I think, the entirety of the TV series during 2015.
Wow.
That's dedication too, right? That's awesome. Still talking about story. One of the things that I do appreciate is not only are you dealing with the shattered timeline and the ramifications thereof, but you're also dealing with these they're almost like sub campaigns where you're dealing with individual factions that have come across into the now, for a lack of a better term, and each of them are vying with each other in ways that are not exactly what you would consider normal. For instance, having the mirror universe and as an example, there's the Maquis, the Bajorans, and the Cardassians. They're all going at it, which isn't really new. However, what is new is that the Bajorans are mid-occupation, or so they seem. The Cardassians are post-occupation, and the Maquis are
They're just pissed at everyone.
Yeah, and it's just like
happy to be alive.
It's a whole new dynamic to a story that we thought we saw and we knew. So it's very interesting, and so we're dealing with all those little things while we are dealing with the greater story of a shattered timeline. So just wow,
I love that. We to us, that's the most exciting thing because it's all about fan fiction for us, right? It's all about, fan fiction in the best terms, which is like when you love a property so much you can't help but come up with what if stories, right? What if, you had the Cardassians, come back as a regional power, and at the same time the Terran Empire, and not the Terran Empire of, like the Terran Empire of Mirror Spock and Mirror Kirk, show up and start fighting the Cardassians, and they're like, who are you? I don't understand. Why are you here? And it's those sort of like what if moments that gets us fired up as a team. I mean, you asked earlier, like how many of us are big fans, and the answer is it really is like the entire company. From John, our CEO, down, like John is an enormous Star Trek fan. The whole team loves Star Trek. I watched Star Trek growing up. I watched Star Trek when it was, when TNG was airing and DS9 was airing. And, all of us have this affinity for it, and getting to work on it is a wonderful pleasure for us. And, it just feels great, right? Like we all love it. We get to work on Star Trek. How cool is that?
I am seriously jealous. I will just say that. I know I'm jealous. I admit that I'm jealous, and I think it's cool that you guys get to do what you do.
It's fun. It's exciting. It's difficult, but at the same time, it's one of those like pure pleasures sometimes to like be writing quest content and making stories and work with characters that are like coming home. Storylines that are things that you remember fondly from growing up and being an adult and watching them in the movies and watching them on TV. It's great.
I'm just going to kind of switch gears a little bit. And again, because many of our listeners probably haven't tried timelines yet, or haven't set up an account. And I wanted to kind of go back to a little bit of the basics of the game and let everybody know that Star Trek Timelines is, first and foremost, it's a mobile game. This is a game that you can play on any of your mobile devices, Android and iOS. Are you guys looking at Windows anytime soon? Windows Phone?
I can't really say.
Okay.
It would require some. I just don't want to say yes or no one way or another because I'm not sure that we've made a final decision on anything like that.
Yeah.
But certainly on Android and iOS, and we're also looking at other platforms as well. So it's entirely possible we'll come out to other platforms soon, but we're focusing on Android and iOS right now.
Cool. It is in my opinion, and I am about as picky as they get. It's a fairly easy game to pick up and to learn. I have both an Android and an iOS. I do play it solely on my iOS right now, but I may end up switching to my Android device here pretty soon. I think my iOS device is just a tad old for the game. I have like probably a second gen iPad, and I think it's running out of memory. I think it's a stressful game on the memory. But be that go ahead, Alex.
Continue.
No, I was just going to say.
Go ahead. I interrupted. I'm sorry.
You're fine, Alex. I got the basic information, or how should I say, to get the basic information out to all of our players is, how would you best describe the action of the game? Because there's several different kind of pieces that you can do that make everything kind of work. I don't want to make people think that this is a confusing game when we talk about away missions or shuttle missions or
space battles.
Can you kind of explain to them how the timelines work and how each pieces play into that role?
Of course. The simplest way to think of Star Trek Timelines is it's a collecting game where you collect your favorite crew and your favorite ships, and then after that, it's sort of a matching game where you match the correct skills with the correct numbers against what you're going up against. Not matching in the terms of Candy Crush or any of the match 3 games, but you need a scientist, and that scientist has to be better than this certain threshold. And some of them have hidden things, traits, and special abilities that give them boosts beyond the norm. But ultimately, you're taking your favorite characters and your favorite ships and just completing actions with them, storylines, away team missions, solving the timeline and sorting it the way you want to sort it. And I'd say it's as much reading as it is, action. There's certainly ship combat and things like that, but I think, I know a lot of our fans actually read a lot of the away team mission text. And even the shuttle missions, the faction missions where you send your crew out on a shuttle, they just have these little snippets, like there was a famine in this planet, and you as Starfleet personnel went and helped the people recover. It's as much about like little snippets of Star Trek story and Star Trek lore and reading that as it is any kind of ship combat or away team mission planning game. So it's a healthy mix of story as well as taking the right pieces of the crew to finish the puzzle.
And I will take it one step further, and a lot of our listeners already play Star Trek Online, which is very different from Timelines, where Star Trek Online is an MMO, and is again has a different action, and you have a character that you actually play individually. In Timelines, it's more like you said, a collecting game, but you get to add as you collect these crews, kind of like a card collecting game. With stats on each individual crew member, you get to play them and place them in your crew, even in your space. So even your ships have a crew setting, and you can place your crew members or people that you've collected or characters that you've collected and get them experience in ship battles as well, and use their experience in ship battles as well. I would compare it very thinly to an extremely complicated duty officer system from Star Trek Online.
It would be very more
an
robust
exceptionally
version.
How do I say it? An exceptionally robust duty officer system. So I don't want people to think, oh, it's just a duty officer system. When I tell you the truth, it is far more than that. That's what makes this game so much fun, is that you get to pull these characters, you get to create with them, you get so many different kinds of characters as well. I think I was very shocked that one of the first characters I got was and now his name just went right. Why does that happen? His name just went right out of my head. He's the doctor from DS9, the Cardassian doctor, the real, the kind of Nazi-ish one. Yeah, right. So I got him.
Wow,
and he's an exceptional crewman.
Cool.
He's an exceptional crewman, but I'll tell you, every time I play him, I feel guilty.
Well, the Cardassian scientist who experimented on live Bajorans, right?
Yeah. And I can't remember his name.
Hold on. It's going to come to me in a second. I don't know.
Again, it went straight out of my head. Huh?
It's not Dr. Riga.
No.
It's Kretek. No, hold on. No. It's Kulla, right?
Kulla is the...
He's the Kazon.
The Kazon.
No, hold on.
And it's killing me because I can't remember. It's like Mo something or...
Moldesette or something.
I don't remember.
Krell Moset?
I don't remember. Now you guys are going to make me go get my iPad, aren't you?
That's it. Yeah, it's Krell Moset. That's who it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the doctor, and during the occupation of Bajor, he's the one that was experimenting on Bajorans.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. He's a creepy dude. His episodes are creepy.
Yeah.
So that is something that you won't get in like the duty officer system, because your crew is kind of nebulous in Star Trek Online. Here, your crew are actual characters from every single show in every single aspect of their kind of timelines. And it's
is there a
really
suitor?
Cool.
I want a suitor. From Voyager. Suitor. Yeah, he'd be awesome.
I can say that we have new characters coming, and those new characters, like in my opinion, take the best of what we can offer. Like the wonderful thing about us doing something like Timelines is that we can have variants of the same character, and there are some of my favorite variants coming up soon. Like ones that as soon as you see it, you'll think to yourself, "Oh yeah, I don't know why they didn't include that dude in the first in the beginning because he's so awesome." But the fact is that there are hundreds of crew that we would have loved to include, but you only have so much time.
My goal, inevitably, and people will just roll their eyes when they hear this on the recording, but they're going to be like, duh. My goal will be if I can absolutely crew my ship with just Rikers, I'd be happy.
Oh, yeah. I love... So, there's Riker with playing cards in our game. He's a 2-star uncommon character, and he has this devious look on his face that is the comments when we got that art in. There's an approval process for the art, and the comments are nailed it. Like he's got this creepy look on his face with the cards. We're like, that's it, he's Card Shark Riker. That's him.
It is definitely not poker face Riker, that is for sure. His Card Shark is the best way of putting it.
Yeah, we love it. There's some new ones coming that we're just so excited about. I can't wait to show them to you guys. Hopefully we get to show them to you this week during the stream, or maybe next week during the stream, but we want to show off these new characters because I just get so excited. And you can use them as your captain portrait, of course, when you get them leveled up far enough.
Right on. And because you had mentioned the Disruptor stream as well as these new characters, last week on the stream you had mentioned that there will be a way to purchase in some way, either through EC, Dilithium, or both, additional crew slots. Is that correct?
Yes. So there will be a way to get additional crew slots beyond what you can get in VIP, and at least for a few of the beginning ones, you'll be able to unlock them for credits as opposed to Dilithium. So it's another way for you to, increase your crew capacity. And it's a small amount of Dilithium at first, and it moves up. But it's it starts with credits, and it gives you a way to get additional crew capacity, even for our free players who are playing and, collecting crew that way. Get you, up a little bit.
Very cool, because that is one thing that I can see a lot of people wanting to do is because it has that collecting aspect. I can see people wanting to collect them all very easily. So I can definitely. I'm glad to hear that there's going to be more ways to get crew slots in the future.
Yep, absolutely.
And for our listeners too, don't worry. You can always head to the show notes if you're listening to this recording on the G&T Show website. You can just look down into the show notes that Mike will put in, and he will make sure that the link to the streaming and to all of the timelines websites that we discuss here tonight, the links will be available in the show notes right below where you're listening to the show right now.
Yep. The Disruptor stream is usually on Fridays, or I think it's 3 Eastern or 2 Eastern.
Yeah, we just changed it to 2:30, I believe, last week. And so the best way is just keep an eye on our Facebook page for timelines. And that's where we typically post, the day before. We say, here's what's going on, and here's when it's going to, here's when it's going to air.
Great.
Right on. Time for Lipton questions, Terry?
Yes, please.
Okay, I got them open already.
Sweet, Alex. Being one of the guests of the G&T Show, we have a tradition here at the G&T Show that any guest that we have on is subjected to our own version of the James Lipton questions. If you know what those are, essentially the questions from the art.
The Actor Studio.
The Actor Studio.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So we have our own set, specifically Trek-ized for all of our guests. And so, Mike, you start off.
Sure. Okay, so what is your favorite Trek series?
The original series.
Cool. If you could be any species in Trek other than human, which would you be?
Ooh.
And these are not easy questions.
This is our way of torturing.
I think, this is bad. This is hard, guys. Okay.
That's okay. Take your time. And if you want to pass and move on to a different question, we'll still come back, but you can think about it.
No, I think I'd go with an Andorian just because I kind of want like 2 little cool thingies on top of my head. I think it'd be kind of fun.
You do have great hair. You do have great hair.
And they have, like they're super strong, and they can, well, not super strong, certainly more endurance, and they get to fight Captain Archer. So yeah, I think Andorians would be a lot of fun.
Cool. All right. Next question is: if you were given an opportunity to write an open-ended series based on one character in Trek, who would it be?
Oh, that's a great question.
I know this.
I think it has to be Quark. That it has to be. Like, it's just one of those like continuing adventures of Quark series that you could probably run for the like love 10 of seasons. Yeah, for the love of Latinum, and it would just sort of be like the end of every episode would be like, "Oh, Quark." As, he just goes on and he like tries to swindle a spaceship from underneath the Klingons' eyes, and at the end of it he's like, I'm a Ferengi. Like, I think that'd be great.
That sounds fun, actually.
I love it. That's great.
Okay, I'm gonna change. Oh, go ahead. What was that?
I said that'd be a great show. I'd watch that show.
Oh yeah, it would. Totally. I'm gonna modify this next question just a little bit. What games or do you run out to get when they're released?
Oh, okay. All right. I got this. So, my family and I have we play Cards Against Humanity all the time with family, friends, and everyone else. So, like, that's a card game that we bring to break the ice with new friends and well,
that's the way to do it. Holy moly!
So yeah, we're like, we're going deep. First off, like, we're gonna get to some root of some ideas and thoughts you have here if you're gonna be our friend. So we always run out and get the latest edition of that. But outside of that, I'd say there's actually, this is going to be pretty obscure. There's this great Japanese simulation game series by a company called Kairosoft on web. Or not web, on a mobile platform, sorry. And like every time they release a new simulation game for like iOS and Android, I rush and get it. So like their latest one was Anime Studio Simulator, and like it's okay. That's not their best effort, but they have some really solid like simulation / strategy games that are just, they follow a formula and they're like kind of shallow, but they have some depth to them, and that's good. And then the last one is Jeff Vogel's games. So he writes, he's sort of an indie studio before there were indies back in the early 1990s, and he made a game series called the Exile series, and later on Gene Forge and Avernum. And he's slowly taking the Exile series, which is like the first shareware games I ever spent money on, and he's bringing them to Steam in an updated modern engine. So far, he's got Avernum, Escape from the Pit, and Avernum 2, which are like 2 games that I adored as a teenager, and he's bringing them back to Steam. So like everything he puts out, I like throw money at him. I'm like, fine, take it. And I inevitably put like 60 to 90 hours in each one of those games. So like those are 3 that as soon as something new comes out, I'm on it immediately.
That's awesome. And it's really nice to have somebody answer this question with, I already know. I know. I think you're the first person that without hesitation knew exactly what we were trying to get to. So that's awesome.
Well, my family and friends like revolve around games. We're playing a game tonight. So my sister-in-law's partner and I are playing Keep Talking and No One Explodes. We're slowly moving our way through like being a bomb tech and trying to like defuse these bombs. And meanwhile, my wife and my sister-in-law are just laughing at us because we're like, how many wires? 5 wires? What color are the wires? Just yelling at each other over the computer. We're literally doing that before this podcast, and it's so much fun. We love playing games.
That's awesome.
Right on.
I will take the next question, and I will tweak it a little bit as well, Mike.
Sure.
A lot of these questions were written for a lot of the actual novelists and writers that we have on the show, again, because we're so story focused. But when it comes to gaming, it's easy to twist these the questions around a little bit. And seeing as though that Disruptor Beam seems to be working on some major IPs right now, namely Game of Thrones and Star Trek. Is there an IP that you personally would love, I mean, outside of the ones that you currently do, would love to work on or create a game for?
So I'm going to preface this by saying this is my opinion and in no way reflects what our company could
This
be
is a
working
personal
on in the
question.
future.
Personal question.
Of
So
course,
this is a
this
personal question.
an opinion.
Right. Okay. I just got to get that out there. But I've been a fan of BattleTech for about 25 years now. And I used to play BattleTech tabletop games, and I used to go to tournaments, and I've read like the majority of the novels, and I own a lot of the source books and all this stuff. I actually own some original art from some of the BattleTech artists that I have here in the house. There are a couple games being made with the BattleTech or MechWarrior license right now, and like it's my dream to they're all out in Seattle, so I'd have to move out to Seattle, but it's my dream to one day work with people who wrote those books and wrote those source books and influenced like a lot of that gritty, giant robots beating the snot out of each other literature that I like grew up on. It's one of my dreams to like work on that property at some point. Is it as big as Star Wars or Harry Potter or Game of Thrones or anything like that? No, but it's one of my pet projects. Like one day I want to make a video game based on like space samurai beating the snot out of like space Germans, in giant robots. Like that just sounds like fun. I want to do it. I love that world.
That's cool.
Right on.
Well, kind of getting back to Trek. What is the name of your starship? The USS?
The USS. Oh, my wife is patting the cat, so maybe the USS Cat. I don't know. The USS Rufus. I don't know. That's my cat's name. No, I would say seriously, it'd be the the USS Discovery, because that's one of my dreams, right? Is to go out in space one day, and to like I think a lot of us that grew up on Star Trek and Star Wars, and the idea that we could one day be out there among the stars, or at least among the planets, that's a dream. And to me, it's all about discovery. It's about finding brave new worlds and new civilizations. And, that really inspired me. So I think if I captained a ship, I would want it to be the USS Discovery, because for me, it wouldn't be about, shooting down other spaceships. Well, I'm sure that's fun. But it would be more about finding all the things out there that haven't been found yet. And that would be amazing.
That's a great answer.
So, Mike, why don't we skip the next question and you can take the next one?
All right. If you were given the green light to kill a major Star Trek canon character, who would you murder? And it has to stick. This would be a permanent thing. There's no,
there's no miraculous resurrection.
Yeah.
This is a death.
Dead. It's DED.
Oh God. This is hard. I'm having some life and death feelings in my hands right now.
And that's why we asked the question is, again, there's the one thing that a lot of Star Trek we don't get is we don't really see deaths of major canon characters. They usually tend to stay alive. And we were always curious. If you had the opportunity to kill somebody off, who would it be? And we've had some really magnificent answers to this question, and they've always been well thought out, because people always thought that the death of that particular character could serve a story very well.
Okay. Oh man. Okay. I'm thinking.
Take your time.
That's the beauty of this. Mike can always edit down the little empty space.
That's true. I think just because it's one of those things that didn't happen during the show, but I think it would be very interesting. Like I love the character, but I think it would be a fascinating story arc for DS9 if Julian Bashir died, because he impacts so many people, and he's such like I love Alexander Siddig and I love Julian Bashir as a character. I feel like he always reacted like a lot of his character was reacting to things going on around him, and I do feel like sometimes people took him for granted in the show. And I think it would be really interesting to see how DS9 would, like maybe an alternate episode, right, where where he wasn't around, where he died early on in the Dominion War or something like that.
Like that episode with Morn, except where Morn, everyone believes Morn is dead, and they all go through the process of mourning Morn, only to come find out that they're all being put on.
Right, and it's he has these interesting relationships with so many different types of people, with Garrick, with Martok, with O'Brien, and I think it would be fascinating to see those people and how they would react to someone who is truly so pivotal to so many story arcs in that series, to see what would happen. Not that I dislike the character, I love that character, but I think it would be fascinating to see how the crew of DS9 would react to it. Yeah, I think that would be a very interesting mirror episode of what would happen.
Right on, very cool.
I was going to say, Alex, the one thing that we have come to learn when we ask this question of our guests is that very, very rarely does somebody answer the question with a character that they do not like. Yeah. Most people end up wanting to exactly what you did, which was, this was a character that I loved. And yet, because of their importance to me, I would like to see how the characters around him or her would react to their absence. It's amazing to me how many guests on our show answer that question with a character they end up loving.
Very few actually would say, go through and say, unless it's a joke just to help them buy time, it would go with, something like Wesley or Neelix or
but usually, I missed my chance to kill Neelix.
But usually, if they do throw out one of those, it's usually just to buy time before, so they can think about, who would make a more interesting death. But yeah, great answer. Thank you. One more. Do you want to take it, or do you want me to?
Go ahead, Mike.
All right. So, if you could choose anyone from Star Trek, who'd be on your bridge crew?
And it's not your game has everything to do with this. I know.
No. Do I get just one?
No, we would say a standard bridge crew. What, 5 or 6?
Yeah. Who would be on the bridge of your ship?
All right. I love Kirk. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the original series. I love Kirk because I think he and I would fight a bit, but we'd also be best buds. But I'm probably just imagining that because he'd probably just take over the ship instead. He'd be like, "Nah, I know you're captain, but I'm actually in charge." Yeah, I'd take Kirk. I've always enjoyed Data. I think that he's one of my favorite characters of all time. His whole story arc throughout all of TNG is just sort of this amazing process. So I would take Data. I love LaForge. I just want the two of them together. I need them on my bridge. I gotta have them.
They're a good team together.
I always like Tuvok. Not everyone likes Tuvok. I like Tuvok. I think he's just a really interesting character. I like his dichotomy of how he interacts with the crew of Voyager and how he handles crises. So I'd grab him.
And I'm with you. I'm a huge Tuvok fan. Huge.
Yeah, huge. and then I think Odo, because every once in a while you need a bucket around. You just got to be like, Odo, I need a bucket right now. No,
very
I like
cool.
Odo.
That's great. Right. Anybody else?
I think that's enough. I mean, there's some really strong personalities right there.
Yeah,
I have a hard time managing that crew.
Right on. Great answers.
Oh, Alex, this has been great. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was going to thank you for taking the time to sit down with us and putting up with our most difficult lip-sync questions. It's been informative.
Now, as we tie things up, Alex, I want you to tell our listeners where can they find Timelines? How can they download it? Where can they follow the Timelines peeps on Twitter or what? Let's go through. How do they find you?
Yeah.
Okay, so most of us are involved. The most heavily trafficked way to contact us is through our social presence on Facebook and Twitter. We try really hard to answer almost everyone that contacts us through those portals. And then our forums, of course, we have a lot of our team on the forums. The company itself, I mean, we're not a huge company. You can see all of our employees on our website. The team size is, it's not like we have 300 people working at our company. We just, there's a couple dozen of us that are working on Star Trek and Game of Thrones and some other stuff. And the best way, honestly, is just to jump on the forums on disruptorbeam.com or StarTrekTimelines.com. You can go to just Facebook's / Star Trek Timelines. It'll take you to our Facebook page. And we are active on Twitter as well. one thing that we've been playing with for the last few months has been the live stream. And the live stream is where two of us get in front of the camera and answer questions live and preview new content for the game and new things. And we do that on Twitch, and we usually advertise that on Facebook and Twitter. And then, of course, you could just search for Star Trek Timelines in the App Store, both on Android and iOS. I think if you search for Star Trek, we might be the first result that comes up for both of those. We were at least for iOS for a long time.
Wow.
Which makes me really pleased. But so Star Trek Timelines is our strategy game, mobile strategy game that we came out with in January, and it's just going to get even bigger and even better. I mean, I wish I could talk more about what's coming for the game and all the cool stuff we have planned, but all I can say is that we're huge fans of Star Trek. We can't wait to show you what else we're building for Star Trek Timelines, and we can't wait to show you what other crew and awesome starships we have coming. This is a team that truly cares about Star Trek, that are truly our big fans. I mean, yes, we need to make a video game. We have to make money to keep the lights on. But behind it is this genuine love for all things Star Trek and Game of Thrones and everything else. And we love it. We love working on games. And I've been working on video games for 12 years now. And, it's such a rare opportunity to work on an IP with people that truly genuinely care about it, and it's not just a job for them. It's like, it's a passion.
That's awesome. I wanted to also let our listeners know that Star Trek Timelines is a free-to-play game that if you download, but there is in-game purchases. So if you wondered to know how did they make their money, that's how they do it. And also, is there an opportunity, or do you happen to know if we're going to see the marketing gang at Star Trek's official Las Vegas convention in August?
I can't say whether we're going to be there this year. I'm not entirely certain what the plan is. We were there last year, and I believe we were there the year before.
Yep.
I was actually there last year, so I was in the Rio with everyone. I got to nerd out quite a bit. So one of my favorite things from the Rio last year was that we actually ended up seeing the Na visitor at the bar, and we ended up buying her some glasses of wine, and then we ended up talking, and like all of us were freaking out at the table because she sat down with us, was having dinner. We're like, oh my God, Major Kira!
That's
freaking out.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But I hope we're there this year. We'll see. It's unfortunately, not up to me. But if we are, I would love to see you guys. Hopefully, we can talk and see everyone else who's listening. We'd love to just hang out. That's part of being game developers, right? Is you get to hang out with your community and your fans, and that always feels awesome. We will be at the gaming convention show, the PAX East, which is in our backyard here in Boston, if anyone's going to be there.
Awesome. Well, I do hope that we do get to see you in Las Vegas. The G&T show is going to be there. We're already set in stone. But if we do miss you this year, which I hope we don't, but we'll let everybody know. You can, of course, everybody who listens to the G&T show will keep you up to date at what we hear from the great people over at Disruptor Beam and their potential and upcoming appearances. Maybe they'll be near you coming up. So we know that they're going to be at PAX, and we know that hopefully they'll be back at STLV again this year, and we'll let you know if we hear of anything more.
Yep. Thank
Alex,
you very much.
Again. Go ahead, Mikey.
I was just going to say thank you again very much for taking the time to join us. It's been a great pleasure, very informative, and keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing great. It's a fun game. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on here. I really enjoy it. I love talking Star Trek. I love talking with guys like you, and thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Mike, you want to take us out?
I will. This has been a G&T Show supplemental log. Thank you very much to Alex, Nod, Engel for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Kapla!
Music for the G&T Show is provided by 5-Year Mission, Enterprise Blues Band, Warp 11, Andrew Allen, and Greth Thor. The G&T Show is a BLB production.
Move ahead, walk back to 10. Put a mini skirt on my yo man. Represent the human race. And what makes this a happy place? take a tour with me. There'll be no cons or Kobayashi.